Coming to you from Tel Aviv, I'm David Matlin, and I'm excited to welcome you to Restart Innovation. Now, we'll be highlighting Israel's ever-growing high-tech innovation and relevant capital ecosystems, the people behind it, the latest developments, and how they are improving the world that we all live in. And just like so many other sectors of Israeli society, its startup and innovation culture is overcoming today's challenges and thriving, and as ripe as ever for investment and growth. Just to preview today, we're joined by one of the titans of the Israeli high-tech sector, leading the critical venture capital behind it all. And to give you insight to some of the latest emerging innovations, we'll speak with the founder of Tulipan Gauze Bio, bringing diagnostics and advanced tech to empower women everywhere, and the CFO of Tevel Aerobotics Technologies. They're solving agricultural labor shortages with advanced artificial intelligence. Let's restart. Now, with us today, leading figures who you need to meet as we discuss the latest high-tech and innovations in Israel. We have with us Mike Bailey, the Director of Content at Benny Moran Productions and Restart IL Conferences. Sitting next to him is Chemi Perez. He's the founder and CEO of Pitengo Venture Capital. We also have Hilla Shaviv, the founder and CEO of Gauze Bio and Tulipan, and Dov Fetman with us also, the CFO of Tevel Aerobotics Technologies. But I have to come to Mike first here. Look, as the brainchild of this, what are the Restart IL conferences, Mike, and what's the idea behind them?
Thank you, David. The Restart IL conferences began as a concept following the outbreak of the war on the 7th of October. We were thinking, what is the best way to help Israeli society, to help Israeli economy? And we decided, Benny Moran and myself, to launch a series of conferences in financial capitals around the world to bring Israeli high-tech companies, early stage, that were hungry for funds and needed some sort of infusion of money to continue their operations, and to meet with investors all around the world and present their innovation, their amazing inventions, and their amazing entrepreneurship. And as we started to do this, we found out that in addition to helping them raise capital and meet with investors, it also tells a fantastic story about Israel. And with all the bad news we have around us, and Israel's image, as we all know, is not at its best place in history.
It's a lot to overcome.
It's a lot to overcome. So we decided the best story to tell is the story of the startup nation, of these amazing entrepreneurs, which among many other things are solving big problems for the world.
And we'll get into a lot of that. Why did you decide to bring this concept, though, to this format, to the television screens?
So we held 6 conferences so far in different capitals, in New York, in London, in Germany. We're taking it to Silicon Valley next. But we want to reach a wider audience, because this is a story that needs to be told. That is, Israeli entrepreneurs, with their innovation, with their persistence, with their resilience, can solve big problems. And we want the world to know, first of all, there's an opportunity, financial opportunity, of course, to invest in these amazing people. But we also want people to understand that there's a lot of good happening here, which can influence. You know, we talk about Israel as Or Lagoim, which is a concept which has been
sort of light unto the nations.
Light unto the nations, which has probably been affected a bit by recent events. These people are a light unto the nations in so many ways, and we'll hear their stories today and through this series of interviews.
And so many of them. We bring some of the highlights here. Obviously, this is a deep subject. So much. Chemi, first of all, tell us about Pitengo. You know, its history, the activities, the scope, the focus. How did it come to be?
So first of all, good to see everyone, and good to see you again, David. I participated in one of the Start IL conferences, and I'm happy to be here also today. Pitengo actually is investing in Israeli entrepreneurs, in Israeli technologies that are addressing global challenges. We started some 35 years ago, before people really wanted to invest in Israeli technology.
Yeah, early.
But over the years, we raised $3.5 billion, and we invested in more than 300 companies. Many of them have been quite successful, going public. Some of them have been acquired by strategic investors. but all of them have been contributing to the world, to humanity, to the environment in so many ways.
From your perspective then, in terms of Israeli innovation, what do you say the status is of the high-tech ecosystem today in Israel, given the challenges, given what's happening?
The high-tech ecosystem, in my humble point of view, is going through two main, I would say, calibration processes. The first one is we look at the hyperscalers, the large companies, the trillion-dollar companies, and we understand that actually there is no limit to how big you can grow a company, even from Israel. We've seen, for example, in cybersecurity, Israeli companies breaking through. CyberArk just crossed 20 billion in market cap, and of course, other companies such as Palo Alto Networks crossed the $100 billion in market valuation. We have, of course, Checkpoint. We saw the acquisition of Wiz by Google recently. So it's a domain that companies can really scale. So we no longer look at small transactions. And actually, the Israeli entrepreneurs are focusing now on building Fortune 500 companies and hopefully hyperscalers. That's one calibration. The other calibration that we're going through is what happened in Israel since October 7th.
Yeah, of course.
Focusing more on civil societies, on internal issues in Israel. The high-tech sector is taking action and is becoming much more impactful also internally. And I believe we'll see more of that, Israeli entrepreneurs.
You're sensing strength, in this environment. Is there a resilience that's emerging
Absolutely.
here?
Post October 7th, we also partnered with a project called Next October,
Wow.
which means that the response to the atrocities will be building bigger and better companies out of Israel, contributing to the world. I'm a strong believer in soft power, and I believe that what the high-tech sector does for Israel, and not only the high-tech sector, but also TV shows and programs, is showing the other face of Israel, the vibrant, energetic, the dramatic lifestyle in Israel, the impact on the world. And I'm a true believer that what Restart IL is doing also through this program is also part of this soft power.
Well, it seems like no shortage of innovation of subcategories that like you're hearing about from Chemi here. So this is a vast and vibrant scene, and you're connected to the right guy here with Chemi.
Absolutely. And I want to mention Hilla Shaviv that Chemi brought up and his Next October project, because when we launched this initiative, it was really right after the war, and the sentiment wasn't positive.
No.
And we joined Hilla Shaviv and his son Ophir and his family, Hilla and the other children, because they launched a very, very important initiative called Next October, which is to commemorate the fallen, including their son, regretfully, through initiatives, through optimism, through building. And that's the DNA of Israel. It's the DNA of Restart. And Izar and his family were a big part of it when we launched this initiative.
This is very meaningful. It's a powerful initiative, no doubt. So there's obviously meaning behind all this. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for now. I want to take a look at some of the companies that we brought here to highlight as well. That's where I come to Hilla Shaviv. Thanks for being with us here. Again, the founder and CEO, Gal's Bio, and now Tulipan. Look, first, tell us about the sort of origin story of this company, your background as well, getting into this.
Can I start with saying that we are part of Next October?
Oh, wow.
And we adopted one of the women that got killed. Her name was Shani Gabai. And following our adoption, we actually changed the color of our logo to Shani,
Wow.
which is crimson. So about me a little bit, I'm a biomedical engineer. I graduated from Caltech and Tel Aviv universities. I used to work, all my education was in cardiovascular.
Wow.
And
Life-saving, sounds that's important. Yes.
Yes, and I like to say that I'm still in blood, but in different area of the body.
Okay, yes. So in terms of that, tell us about the product.
So our product is basically, for Hebrew speakers, I like to say the vaginal cavity in Hebrew is nartik.
Okay.
Which means in English, a small purse. It's our women's small purse that goes around with us 24/7 And what we developed is the platform, the technological platform that enable to monitor the body and the women's health from this small purse, and also to do therapeutics. And at the base of all of this technology is a small device the size of a tampon, disposable and clean, which is called Tulip. And within this new category, femme wearables, that's their name, our first device is called Tulipon. Tulipon, abnormal bleeding happens to women. 10% of post-menopause women has abnormal bleeding. Mostly, it's first very initial sign for cancer, uterine cancer or cervical cancer.
There's a critical point in life to determine, these early onset of these types of issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the biomarkers, the cancer cells, are already within that bleeding. And what we are doing with it currently, we are simply discarding it. So with us, with Tulipon, what we enable is collecting this variable, it's a gold mine of data liquid, sending it to a lab, and do a very, very early stage diagnostic for cancer. Our device is like this size, and it will cost 30 cents to manufacture, and we can do so much with this liquid, with the not only menses, but also other secretions in the vaginal cavity. And this is a problem that should be solved a long time ago. But I like to say the world was waiting for me for some reason, I don't know.
Well,
but
it's a unique moment, and I want to say in terms of the world waiting for you, how has the world received you? I mean, talk about these challenges as we bring in, coming from Israel, representing things like this that are designed to empower and help people everywhere, no matter where they're from, no matter who they are. What kind of challenges you face as an Israeli company representing this?
It's been a lot of struggle, and it requires not only technological adjustment. The change is mainly social, and I believe that the biggest change should go through women.
Is that bridging the gaps? I mean, with in a lot of political circles especially, but more and more cultural, there's this antagonism towards Israel. Is this an issue that you're finding is helping to bridge that and get connect with people everywhere?
Yes, I definitely got response lately that it's a nice project, but we have other nice projects that are not from Israel. Then we will go with them. And it's a big challenge. Yes.
No doubt about that. And on that note, I want to bring Chemi to get your thoughts here a bit on a company like this. Obviously, there's a mission behind it. What are your thoughts? How do you view the ecosystem that she's working in here?
First of all, I admire entrepreneurs which are women, and especially when they focus on healthcare, because I admire all healthcare companies because I think they focus on solving real problems. I can tell you that in general, when you are a high-tech company and you do something very good or very exciting, the world sometimes does not view you as an Israeli company, but rather as a global company. The story is a little bit different if you run something which is per se Israeli.
Okay.
At that point in time, there is some kind of a shade that may be associated in people's mind.
Chilling effect.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't think it's really an obstacle for true entrepreneurs. They will grow, they will break all the concrete and glass ceilings without even noticing they are there, and do everything in their power.
Hilla, can I ask you, what is the market you're addressing? How big do you think? Dreaming big and looking at your big vision, what is the size of the market?
Well, so this would be women, postmenopausal women that experiencing abnormal bleeding. Other women that we are addressing is BRCA gene mutation women that they currently they go through a preventive surgery, like we all heard about Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, yeah.
So with our device, they can prevent this surgery, and they can have a very, very close monitoring on a monthly basis. And then you always have all the women that are, have family history of cancer. So this is just the beginning. It's the first time that women can go to sleep at night and actually have a full night of sleep without worrying about their bleeding. And there are many more that I will not expose here, forgive me.
Much more, no doubt. But Dov, I have to bring you into this, and thank you for sitting patiently here. You have an innovation that I think is fascinating and very relevant as well. Dov Fetman, the CFO of Tevel Aerobotics Technologies. First of all, tell us about you, your background, again, the origin story of the company.
I think, first of all, an impact investing, I think it's the most profitable investing in the long term. About me, before I'm joining Tevel for the last several years, but before it I had an aviation business background, but I think Tevel is solving a global issue, a global a labor shortage issue. On a fruit vertical harvesting, and this is the crucial issue of labor shortage, because in that vertical, the average age of a fruit picker today is about 63 years old.
So the person pulling that radish out of the ground, picking that apple off the tree.
Absolutely, wow. It's 63 years old on a global basis. So this is a problem that we have to tackle now, and because the younger generation doesn't want to step into this task. It's a very hard and seasonal task, low paid, and the future is in robotics, in deep tech, and this is where we are put our innovation in that vertical, and we see ourselves, continue the discussion as a global company. We have already implemented our solution in Europe, in Italy, and France, in South America, in Brazil, in Argentina.
I was wondering, where does this not affect? I mean, this is obviously such a global issue, maybe the agricultural, hotspots around the planet, but this is a global issue as well.
Absolutely, no absolutely. And I was kind of puzzled to know that there is a real labor shortage issue in South America. And this is and they told me the same. The younger generation like to work in the hospitality verticals, in the Ubers, restaurants, and so on, but not in agriculture.
Not to the fields as much.
Not in the fields. Specifically not in fruit orchards, because it's a high heat, high labor intensive work and also risky. You have to climb on a ladder and pick the trees from the treetops, and sometimes get injured and so on. And here we are stepping in our innovation.
What was, if you could shed some light on the innovation that came into this, on sort of the way you looked at this issue, your company, and said how we can bring artificial intelligence and technology into this. What was the in there?
So yeah, I think we have a very unique and disruptive solution, because we're using a flying autonomous robots.
Wow. These are little drones.
This is the issue. And this is where we put our unique disruptive technology in this vertical, because in opposed to robotic arms are very limited in motion. They have very limited degrees of freedom. And by thinking of this solution, we try to imitate the movement of the birds and the bees, how they approach the fruit without any limitation of degrees of freedom. They can pick the fruit very gently, without harming the fruit and without harming the tree. And this is the innovation that comes here from Israel. And this is the uniqueness of the Israeli innovation, because, we have a very low physical resources, and we have to innovate.
Yeah.
And the innovation that we have to make is a critical, and we have to do it right now, because we don't have any time, because we have the constraints, and we have the availability to overcome those constraints with innovation.
And this being another industry, another sector that bridges perhaps all the divides. I mean, how are you, again, dealing with this? You're bringing this from Israel. Is it just an issue that's important enough to sort of get over those issues? What kind of challenges do you face there?
So basically, our customers are asking us when you can come, before the how much,
Yeah.
because this is the time. The time is now. I think there is a very alarming trend, a global trend of dehydrating orchards, because on about 20
It's like neglected and
20% on a global average base of the crop just being wasted.
Wow.
Because there's not enough labor resource to pick the fruits. So the main question that we're having is when.
It's interesting. We saw a lot of that. I mean, for different reasons here in Israel. Just the since October 7th, 23, of course, the inability to harvest so much of the fruit and produce. And I want to bring Chami again into this. Chami, looking at something like this, dealing with agriculture, the food on our table, the food for everybody. Now, how do you look at an initiative like this?
And in the case of Tevel, they combine AI with autonomous drones. And they really focus on getting food to our table. There's a lot of things that are associated with what they do, which of course we don't have the time to speak about. But I just wanted to mention the fact that drones actually is a very significant phenomenon that comes to the world of innovation, because it can be used in dual ways. It can be used for what we see in the battlefield, but it can also be used for food and agri-tech. By the way, sustainability in food is a word that was first mentioned in the Bible many, many years ago, the first time in humanity. And I believe that companies like Tevel will serve the world with better, fresh, and food that is not damaged or when it was picked. And that they will increase the availability of food, which is so much important.
Certainly a pressing issue for the decade to
Absolutely.
come.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Dov, you mentioned...
It's a health company, because it's an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right?
Absolutely.
Critical.
But Dov, you mentioned robotics, you mentioned drones. Where does the AI component come into this? Because we all know it's a very hot trend and a hot word in the high-tech sector.
So basically, AI is in the core of our solution, because what's driven the flying autonomous robots is our AI-driven software. It may be looking like a simple task of picking fruit and put it into the bin, but it's not at all. Basically, our system runs more than 9 neural networks at the same time, simultaneously. Because first, you have to detach the fruit and determine if it's ripe or not. If it's right, pick it. If it doesn't right, skip it. Or what is the best route to approach the fruit to prevent any damage to the tree without entering the large foliage and branches and so on. It is not a natural environment of a drone, because it drives a live map that created by our system, and then have the brain to determine to the arm if it's if it's the right target to pick or not. So AI is basically in our core of our solution, and we are the only company in the world that have a commercial capability to pick almost 40 varieties of orchard fruits. We are the only companies of the world, and we
It's not fixed on one crop or one type of.
Yeah. Basically, we're talking about orchard fruit. We're talking about apples, peaches, plums, nectarines, pears, and now also we're completing the R&D for citrus, and all of these is empowered by the AI and our partners of AI, such as NVIDIA and Intel.
Well, thinking with my stomach, as I often do. Getting hungry listening to you talking about all the fresh produce here. But Hilla, I like where you took that in terms of thinking about this as a healthcare initiative in some way, that there are, there's meaning behind this. So you're seeing that as well. And I think that seems to be what motivates you highly as well.
One of the biggest problems, I think, that we are experiencing today is because women's health was not considered as a problem. With Tulip, we will be able, we also have, of course, an AI element, because for the first time ever, this gold mine of data, Menzies, will be able to collect it. And after we'll start to collecting it systematically, then we'll be able to do predictions. And I like to say that as Jews, people say, thank God I'm not a woman, I'm going to change that. Men will say, I'm unfortunate not to be a woman.
Well, Mike, I bring this back to you in terms of the driving force of this concept of tikkun olam, to sort of heal the world, to contribute to the world, to do something for the good of the world. Describe, these companies obviously fit into this model of what you're trying to bring. Does that seem to be a driving force between much of the Israeli innovation sector?
Absolutely. And I have to say, David, that when we started this initiative, we were operating in a very unoptimistic environment. Yeah. I mean, the war broke out. All of us in Israel were pretty concerned about where things are heading. And we started to meet these entrepreneurs. We took over 120 of them already overseas. And each one of them tells an amazing story, as we heard here today, of resilience, optimism, economic opportunity, but also a lot of values that care about the world, care about solving big problems, and to think that from such a small country like Israel, with such a small population, such an amount of innovation, creativity, and a will to really solve big problems, turned me around to being much more optimistic as to where we're heading, and that's why we're continuing this initiative. And I'm glad that we have this platform to tell this story to a broad audience around the world, because it's a story that needs to be told.
And I know there are a lot more stories to tell, and we'll keep bringing them here. Restart IL. Thank you all for being with us on this edition here as we say goodbye from Restart IL.